either live by the gun or you die by the sword.
Welcome to the Good, the Bad, and the Weird podcast, MicroViews. I'm Nicho.
And I'm Chris.
And today, we drink your blood, but in a family-friendly manner.
Yes, in only the cutest manner known to person, but also tiny bit creepy.
Or no, it's actually what I should have done is a Scottish accent.
Okay, that is the thing about this movie.
We want to drink your blood. I can't
you can't do it,
no.
can you? Because there's only one Dracula.
I'm on the spot, yeah.
There's only one Dracula, and he's from Hotel Transylvania.
Isn't that Adam Sandler?
Yeah.
Yeah, we are doing 2000's The Little Vampire.
What a cute movie. What a confusing movie.
Oh, man. I grew up on this movie because and part of the reason I wanted to do this, if we were going to do vampires for our October theming, was because this was my baby brother's
of course
all-time favorite movie, and he watched it so many times.
Did you own it on DVD or VHS?
We had it on DVD because it was in Germany.
Yes.
And so we had moved away from VHS at this point. But to the point where, like, it drove my mom crazy how much he watched this movie.
Could you quote it word for word?
I couldn't, but he could.
Yeah, he could, yeah.
The unfortunate thing and kind of funny thing is, I brought this up that we were doing this episode to him.
Uh-huh.
And he has zero memory of this movie.
Really?
And to be fair, he was like 4 or 5 when he was like really into it.
Sure. I bet if he watched it, there are scenes that he'd be like, I do remember the weird cows.
Yeah. So we're doing this episode because my baby brother was obsessed with this. And we wanted to do, at least for one small review, a more family friendly, since we're not pairing off the Halloween episodes anymore.
No, absolutely. And also, this movie ran on TV for years. It might still occasionally run. I don't have cable. It's Warner Brother distributes it here in the US, and I know they put it on their TV channel regularly, because I've seen this movie. I did not love this movie. I was a vampire kid. I loved Halloween. I loved vampires. But this wasn't one of my top, favorites by any means. But I did watch it every year it came out. And unfortunately, this movie might suffer just from being slightly unforgettable, because Brian, my husband, watched this with me, and he was adamant he had not seen this movie until we got almost halfway through, and then he saw one specific scene, and he went, "Oh, I have seen this. I don't remember anything about it."
Yeah. Well, for those who aren't familiar with it, it is about a weird American kid who moves to Scotland and is obsessed with vampires to the point that he gets bullied for it.
Yeah,
and
I feel this kid.
the only person he becomes friends with is a vampire.
A vampire.
Yeah. And
it is based off of the book series of the same name, originally written by Angela Somar Bordenberg, and it's originally German.
Zomer.
Thank you. I no idea.
Boldenberg.
Probably. I don't know. I'm not German.
But that's the thing, is I was surprised that it was a German book series first off, because I only knew it from this movie, which...
I looked up the art for the original book series, and I am not surprised it's German. It fits very much in the style. It's very cute. I, of course, have not read all of it. It is a long series. It's there's more than just this one adventure.
Yeah, and some of them didn't get published in the US.
No, and I mean, she wrote it for a very long time, so this is a very different adaptation. The story is not similar to the book, for those who care, though I don't know why you would. But at the same time, I think for most of us, this, at least in America, this was our introduction to the Little Vampire. Most of us did not know the books existed. They were not a thing here.
Nope, not at all. And the screenplay is by Carrie Kirkpatrick and Larry Wilson, directed by Uli Dell, starring Jonathan Lipinski as Tony Thomas.
You know Lipinski as Stuart Little.
Or Jerry Maguire.
Yep.
Rollo Wells as Rudolph Sackville Bagg.
The vampire kid.
And Jim Carter as Rookery, and also of note, the little girl who plays Anna eventually went on to be Susan in The Chronicles of Narnia from 2005.
A great movie. It also has Richard E. Grant and Alice Craig in this movie.
Yeah, and
the adults are all famous people.
Yeah, one of them plays the mom from Silent Hill.
Yes, exactly. Also, Quick note, the producer is Richard Claus, and I only bring that up because there is technically a sequel to this movie.
Is it the animated one?
Yeah, 2017 Little Vampire 3D was released. It is very loosely based off of this movie, which was very loosely based off the books, and the only reason I bring up Richard Claus is because in that one, he wrote and directed it, but it did have returning voices from Jim Carter and Alice, so if you're really into Little Vampire, there's more, I guess. I watched it. It was cute. Not required watching, though.
No, not at all. And I didn't watch it either, so I just know it exists from looking this one up.
It was fine.
Yeah. But I do have some questions about this, because knowing that it's set in Germany...
No, it's not. It's set in Scotland.
No, the books.
The books are set.
Sorry,
yes.
yeah, the books.
Okay, yeah.
Why this transition to Scotland? I'm guessing it's probably budgets, but it just is kind of a weird decision for me of like, you could have filmed it in Germany. That would have been nice.
Granted, there is barely any available information about the like behind the scenes of this movie.
Yeah.
In any information that is out there is mostly about the children actors and like their time working on this film, because with the exception of one or two, most of them didn't do a ton outside of children acting.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, that's kind of what's there. My guess is that the set was completely going to be based off of whatever country that had A, castles, and B, cheap they could get. And they did film most of this in Scotland. So that's my guess is why. I think it would have been any country with castle.
Well, and on top of that, like, it's set in Scotland, but all the vampires have English or American accents for some reason.
There's only one vampire who puts on any form of quote-unquote vampire accent, and it's one of the kids, and it's only when she's doing poetry, and I think it's just because that's what she could think of. And it's cute. You don't really care because she only does poetry like 3 times in the movie.
Yeah, and maybe it's just supposed to be like a nice deviation from, like, the Boris Karloff setup of, okay, this is how Dracula sounds, and now it sounds that way for all of us going forward.
True. The other thing I'd like to point out, and a lot of us overlook it because we grew up with movies with Jonathan starring in them, most of these are actually younger kids, and accents and young kids do not mix, let alone acting in young kids.
Yes.
The fact that they got this many children on board to do all of this, don't worry about the accent. It's fine. Because if you think about it, if we were going to do accents, we would have to get a well-known American child actor to learn an accent. He has multiple lines. He's very cute.
No, in this one, he's an American transplant, remember?
I know, but if we were going to have them all be Scottish or German, we would have to teach him accents.
But what about the vampires? You're in Scotland. Cast some Scottish people.
Those are 2 other American children who also, we know, can't do accents.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Cast Scottish people to do it so they have that accent already.
They didn't even cast Scottish children as background characters. The bullies from school, who were one of the only ones with any real dialogue other than just yelling, like, get him! They even have American accents.
Yeah.
Even though they're supposed to be Scottish.
Yeah. Well, and that's the one thing with setting up this movie as well, not just the accents, but I think making Tony a transplant is a good start to force him into finding friends with the vampire.
Sure, it also makes him extra weird because while I get in real life as an adult, seeing a kid who is really into vampires and that like being a problem with making friends, as a child who was really into vampires, it did not hinder me from making friends.
No.
If anything, I had more friends because of my vampire obsession.
Yeah, because you made friends with the other weirdos who were obsessed with vampires.
In fact, I did. Lifelong friendships.
Yeah, it's not like anime nerds where you made friends with the people who liked anime enough, but weren't like that super, super weeb level.
No, and as much as this movie tries to make vampires not cool for some reason, it's just not true. Most children think vampires are at least mildly enough cool to hang out with this poor kid, Tony? I don't know. He's got a stupid name. But, so, like, I think having the extra level is really good, because this movie, only time we see adults is the adults worrying that their children are weird. And this is better than nothing, I guess.
Yeah. Well, there's also some weird stuff with Tony in his room as well, because while he's obsessed with vampires, his parents obviously aren't paying attention to their kids' interests as well, because they really do a hard job of hammering home that he's from California and he's American with all the sports posters and memorabilia around his
They
room.
also make sure you know that even though he's mostly unsupervised, he is a little weenie and scared of most things.
Yeah, and then like they do this thing where he goes from being bullied to being a bit of a tyrant himself.
No,
like,
fully bullying, because he makes 2 kids crawl on the ground back home one time.
Yeah.
That's mean. That's mean. One of the things that is a little funny, and this is kind of an interesting, like, mid-ground. This movie came out in 2000, which means that it was after the weird, our children are, like, don't have parents in movies and TV shows of the 80s and 90s.
Yes.
Versus our children are raised by their weird aunt and uncle of the later 2000s.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking about of like how this movie is set up. Is it feels like such a latchkey kids movie, like
it should have been the 90s.
Yeah, that exact era of like, okay, maybe I don't know when the screenplay was originally written for this, so it could have been years ahead of time. But
sure, but in that, like, granted, this movie is set in Scotland, and 99% of this film is filmed at the one castle/house they could get to film in, and then the rest is filmed on a golf course. So, what time period is it? I don't know. I'm sure some sports fan could tell me by the posters in the background, but I could have cared less.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just a generic time period.
Yeah, and also, like, some of the plot of, like, the dad having to be there because, they couldn't hire a local Scottish guy to design a golf course for a country that's
famous for golf.
Yeah, exactly. And then, like, on top, I think part of what it is, too, is it's just to sell to the American market of, like, you're going to have a movie with an American family, and then you're going to have all these, like, really dumb tropes of, like, the Scots speak funny around here, and, they accidentally drove on the wrong side of the road for a second.
The other thing that I absolutely love that this movie makes no sense, and I see why, because it's now I know based off of a children's German book. The family is brought from California, and let's pretend that he is the world's best golf course designer ever. Don't give a fuck. Sure, why not? They move him to Scotland, and instead of putting him anywhere that makes sense, they give him a whole castle to live in and a nanny.
Well, that's the thing too. Like, I did make a note on the house too, because
the house is dope, but why is this where he's staying?
But it's not even like a castle. It's like the most stereotypical thing you think of like an old house, because it's got that stone turret, and then it's got a house attached to it.
It's the strangest place possible, and the movie kind of sort of tries to explain it to you in this very, like, fun back sort of flashes of the history of the vampires and why we are even here and doing stuff.
Yeah.
Which, like, I guess, and for a kid's film, like, granted, I do need to take my expectations down a little tiny bit, because that's not a plot hole children care about. But I care about. Yeah. Because not only is they living in this kooky house, but this house also has, within child walking distance, a crypt/cemetery?
No, I mean, where they're out in the countryside, I could believe it.
Sure, but, like, this is one of those things where, why I said I think it didn't matter what country, it just was going to be whoever was going to give them the best deal and had a castle for the vampire setting. Because there's clearly, like, locations that stuff is being filmed on site. There's very little that I think was filmed in, like, an actual studio. And I think that unfortunately shot them a bit in the foot, because it implies that literally all of these locations are in the backyard. But we also know they can't possibly be.
Well, I mean, the kid only walks to 3 locations. From the house, to the barn with the cows, to the cemetery.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that's believable.
It is believable, but we also know that, like, they couldn't possibly have filmed that because those locations in real life were not next to each other. And we weren't paying extra money to show them.
It could be close enough.
Probably.
See, that's the thing is, like, I 100% believe that it would be walkable, especially, like, if you live, like, just on the outskirts of town, because that's the other thing, we don't have much of an establishment of where they are, but we
really don't.
Yeah, but I also, you bring that up of, like, okay, well, none of this makes sense. Well, also, is this what his dad's going to be doing for, like, he uprooted his entire family to fly across the world?
to
do this.
And I am sure that... So the books, it is not just like a one-off friendship and then like he moves back to California or something. Like they live there and he makes friends with the vampires and he spends most of the books like having adventures with his new vampire best friend.
Yeah.
And it is normal to assume that a child's movie that makes some money to have a sequel. So it's implied that they're staying here forever.
Yeah, what if they were trying to like more mimic kind of the structure of Hocus Pocus? Because Hocus Pocus is the exact same thing of, okay, this family's transplanted across the country, which is still a big move in itself, too.
It is. The thing... Okay, there's one other thing that sort of bothers me about this movie. Mm-hmm. And this movie, age-wise, is a little confusing. Okay. Because, like, Hocus Pocus is kind of that middle kid range. You don't want to go too young because they're not going to understand the plot or the point. Mm-hmm. But it's not spooky enough to be fun for an older kid. This movie is easy enough and fun enough, 90% of the time, for the younger kids to understand and have fun with. And yet, every once in a while, they film the vampire child in the most terrifying manner known to humans. Just full horror picture shows of him crawling up the walls, hiding in the corner.
That's a singular scene.
That's too much. I
don't see it, because they balance it off of like, okay, he does that, and then he falls down because he's weak. Like, they don't, it's got a, okay, I can maybe see, like, a slight scare to it, but because it goes immediately comedic afterwards.
I think this one, I could see how some kids, the only parts they're going to remember are the quote-unquote scary scenes, which seems to be kind of the few friends that I've talked to about this. Most of them forgot this movie existed. And the few of us who were vampire freaks from my childhood who did remember this literally only remembered the quote-unquote spooky scene and the cows hanging from the rafters, which more than one of them told me gave them nightmares.
Yeah, which, fun little trivia on that, on the cows. Well, maybe not the cows themselves, but I'm not saying it was him.
Uh-huh.
But Rory Fellows, the guy who did the stop-motion animation on Hellbound, did some of the 3D animation on this movie, so
that makes sense.
It could have been him.
It could have been him. And granted, as an adult watching this, it's not scary, but as a connoisseur of children's Halloween spooky movies, this one is a weird on the fence sort of one, because they usually fall into very easy, hard categories of for young kids, too boring for older kids, for older kids, tiny bit too spooky for younger kids. This one sits almost on the fence, which might be fun if you have a brave young child, and will be very boring if you have a normal older child.
Yeah. So on the vampires then.
I love these vampires. These are hilarious.
Okay, I was going to ask you, what do you think of like their brand of altruism in this movie where they only suck cow blood, but at the same time, they're constantly threatening Tony that they'll suck him dry?
Okay, so this one I think is fun because not only do these vampires apparently are capable of drinking any blood, don't remember that they can drink any blood because Tony the child has to remind them like, hey, would you like a cow for dinner? You guys seem a little hungry and weak. And they're like, of course, how foolish of me. Well, this is Scotland and there are plenty of animals.
Well, and on top of that, they've lived in this specific area for 300 years and they don't know where to get cows.
Okay, but here's...
Or the fact that they have to drain the cows completely of blood or they'll come back as vampire cows. There's been vampire other things because I guarantee you they haven't sucked everything dry.
Okay, that is the one thing that I find hilarious is most vampire films make a rather big deal about the fact that like everything either turns into a vampire and that's the horror and they have to kill everyone and that's their vampire curse. Or there is some ritual or extra bit that has to go along with actually being turned into a vampire. Just being bit is not enough, because again, vampire cows. This movie implies that just being bit is enough for you to turn into a vampire, and that does not stop at humans. This is a horrifying premise as an adult, because this means... Because we also find out that they are not the only vampires by, like, a long shot. They have a whole family reunion at the end. Are all of them killing their vampire squirrels, dogs, cows, and deer? Or are there just vampire dogs, like, wildlife running Scotland rampant?
Well, I mean, with the rats and squirrels and stuff, I can see those dying. But, like, yeah, the big animals, like the cows and stuff.
Like, they're... And, like, this isn't like they've decided to put the location here somewhere that's like isolated or, you know, unknown, has very little wildlife, like Easter Island, where it's mostly sheep.
Mm-hmm.
This one is in Scotland. There is plenty.
Yeah, well, I do also appreciate that they make a twist on that vampire flick of like, okay,
True.
instead of like just wanting to die, they're trying to find the way, or they know the way. They're trying to get everything together so they can become human again,
which is very cute, very child appropriate.
It is very cute, and I do like that they have something more interesting with it rather than like, shit. I watched this movie called The Vampire Dog in the 150 ones I watched. And man,
Vampire Dog.
Like Norm Macdonald, all right in the movie.
Yeah,
but like just him drinking Jello, or drinking the red of the Jello. Yes. It is one of the dumbest twists on like even a child's vampire movie.
Oh, here's the thing, that one always made me laugh because Bunnicula is like my favorite of the stupid vampire. Bunnicula is a Dracula ripoff where the bunny is the vampire, but he just drinks the color out of vegetables.
Oh, so like Marceline. Okay.
Kind of. It was very cute. It was very silly. And it's all told from the house cat and the house dog's perspective, where they're like, there is a vampire in the house. It's just the white rabbit you guys brought in. And it's like clearly Dracula because he has like little fangs and red eyes. And like I think at one point is wearing a cloak.
Oh, great.
Or is like colored to look like he's wearing a Dracula cloak. I can't remember. But I love a kid-centric vampire retelling because it is always fun. There's a lot of room for creativity. So I like that we've added them wanting to be human. That's their wish, that they don't really want to be vampires anymore. Cute. Much better than the like loathing of being immortal, especially for a kid's film. I also like that the way that we get to be human again doesn't revolve around like a specific good deed ritual or like an exchange. It's just a little treasure hunt for the kids to go on. That feels very, like, age-appropriate. It feels fun.
Yeah.
It also, like, does lead into, like, potential for merch, which I know is an important thing for a kid's film.
Oh, man, that super decorated gyroscope.
It's pretty dope, actually. Let's not lie to ourselves here. The other thing that I really like, especially for a kid's vampire film, is it is important to keep some version of vampire, like, imagery. Mm-hmm. And they managed to do that with the mom and dad vampire, making them extra, very gothic, Victorian, over the top. Nobody's costume is based off of diddly crap. No one's time period makes any sense, but it's okay. Like,
yeah, the oldest brother is punk for some reason.
And I love it. I love he's so stupid.
A 10-year-old punk kid.
And then you've got the sister who's just real macabre and so romantic in her poetry.
She's like a cat leaving him a dead mouse.
It's so hilarious. Because again, that's like one of those things that's like on the verge of maybe a little too much for some kids, but it's perfect for an older kid. They would find that hilarious and gross. Mm-hmm. And also our main vampire kid, they've made look as normal as possible, which is hilarious because he has to look normal compared to Jonathan, who was a very famously goofy-looking kid, and that's why he's the star in most of these films, is he's famous for the spiked yellow hair, the big glasses. In fact, multiple other, like, animated characters who were not filmed, like, they're just based off of him. He didn't voice them, they weren't directly inspired by him. They just happen to look exactly like him because he's the standard for a nerdy-looking child in the early 2000s.
Yeah, I can see that quite a bit.
Yeah. But he doesn't look like a normal child. He looks like a sentient broom. And he's always looked that way. That's just how he looks.
I low-key kind of want to see an edit of that one scene in Fantasia, but it's just him repeated.
It might be. There might be one out there.
Yeah. But I do also, like, there are parts of this movie that I do enjoy. Like, while we talk about how dumb it is, I actually kind of still like the Hunter Rookery. I
love a good children's bad guy, and he's perfect.
Oh, he as an adult watching it, he comes across as that unemployed friend who you don't know exactly what he's doing and what he does, but the occasional time you see him, he's always seeming to be doing well for himself.
He's doing the most random ass stuff too.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, they bring in just enough vampire stuff and they blend it all together really well that, like, most vampire-based kids are the ones watching this. They're the ones who are going to seek this movie out, especially in America where it's a little harder to find. It's mostly just on TV. And so he's got a light up cross that's not even battery powered.
That is my favorite thing in this movie, is like when it's faltering and like the music's moving with it.
And like clearly he's like, that's implying that it plays its own music, which even better. Wow, what an attention to detail for him. But it's not battery operated. It's plugged in. Everything he owns is extension cord based.
Yeah.
He has, like, clearly light itself does not hurt vampires. It just has to be a bright enough light.
Yeah, that's the one thing I had questions on, is that one light he uses all the time. Yeah, when he drops like the big mirror one, that one makes a little bit more sense. Enough, but it's like when he has a spotlight on the main kid vampire, and it's just like, what? Why?
Well, and we know that like a normal light doesn't hurt them because our main weenie, Tony, has multiple flashlights. And he is willy-nilly shining them on his vampire friends, and they don't seem to care. And
they're hanging out around his house and stuff where they're
fully lit.
Yeah, exactly.
In fact, Tony is such a weenie. He has an enormous supply of nightlights of various kinds, partially to light the movie because this is a movie and we need lighting, but also to like really emphasize how scared he is of the dark. And so clearly normal light's not the problem. It's just that this man has put every light in Home Depot on his truck and is got them battery extensions on there.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing too, is like the way they make Rookery scary is that he has no qualms killing a child.
True.
Even if it is, only assuming it's a vampire child.
We hope, but also he doesn't stop to think long enough to be like, maybe this is a real child I'm about to run over.
Yeah, no, exactly. But it makes me think of the Snowplow Man in Snow Day.
Yeah.
It's that exact same feeling of like, he's an adult who's willing to put children in danger.
100%. He also, as an adult, kind of scares me because he's running around with at least 2 body spots in his truck.
Yes.
Like a mobile morgue? Sir, that's not okay. And they don't lock, because the one vampire just lets himself out.
I think he forgot on that one, maybe for comedic effect.
I hope he forgot, because otherwise his argument for their vampire storage is bullshit.
Oh, very much so. But that's the thing, is like, even though he is stupid, they do make it feel like he's a real killer.
Well, and I like that they make him threatening without making the adults in the scenarios too stupid, which is a very common trope of especially kind of spooky kids films, where part of the horror is that you can't go to an adult because they don't believe you or they're in on it. This one, both the adult vampires are on the side of good, and they use their vampire prowess of like seduction ? For good. Like they're trying to be friends with his parents. They're like, well, obviously we look crazy, so vampire powers.
Ooh, you're biscotti as worms.
Oh, it's fun, yeah.
Yeah.
and our Lord of the Manor / golf course owner, he's the only one who's really stupid. And that kind of works out because he does not technically affect either of the boys. He's not in charge of either of them. The adults seem to actually care that there's this crazy man digging holes in the graveyard.
Very much so.
And I like that. I also like that this movie ends with a really, like, you get the satisfying punch at the end of, oh, we gotta beat up the bad guy. But the children are out of harm's way, and it's just the parents punching the bad guy.
Yeah.
That's kind of fun. A little bit maybe much for now, but it's fun.
Well, and that's the other thing, too, is like the absolute ending of this movie, of them just all disappearing into nothingness, and then just reawakening with new memories and neighbors now. So,
from a writing standpoint, I kind of get it, because I have a feeling we're at the end of our budget. We can't CGI magic a whole lot more other than like fairy dust them away.
We have to cut out the exposition of, oh, by the way, when we become humans, we have to go through some stupid dust transformation.
Yeah, and
or return to dust.
While this movie was never meant directly to be filmed, like shown only on TV, this was not a made-for-TV movie, I do think they knew that this was going to be mostly on TV, because they tried really hard to hit that 90-minute mark. There is technically 5 extra minutes, but those 5 extra minutes are beginning credits and end credits, which we don't have to technically have. We can cut those off and add in our little commercial breaks. It's also nicely broken up for commercial breaks. Like, I think we knew filming this that we needed to hit a very specific moment and time. This extends the end just enough to have like that commercial break, come back, happy ending.
Yeah, very much so. And like I get why they did it. It's just, it's a lot of stuff that you gotta get rid of in the cutting room because your movie's already running
Absolutely.
a little long for a kid's movie at that point. So.
Absolutely. The only true bitch I have about this movie is that it is very obvious that while Jonathan made a very cute kid and was a pretty decent child actor, as he was in multiple films as a kid, he definitely can't whistle.
No.
Every time they show this child whistling, it hurts me just a little bit on the inside.
Yeah, my only bitch about this movie is that the soundtrack is that there's a couple times where it's just random pop music thrown in to 100% sell the CD on this.
Okay, so I'm glad you said that, because yes, the CD was immediately released separately, and several of these songs on the CD were then released as singles, making it onto the top tracks.
Very much so.
So, not terribly surprised, but...
Nope. So, Chris, rent by streamer declined that we ever watched The Little Vampire, despite having an audio recording of us watching it.
While this movie is good, and like I said, I have watched this multiple times, I don't think I'm going to add it to my vampire or even spooky Halloween kid movie collection. It's fun. I will probably just stream it, though. Mostly because you, thankfully, have bought the DVD. It is a standalone DVD, which is a bit impressive. There's no extra reason for me to buy the DVD. It had a game. The game is fine. It kind of worked on my PS3. It struggled a little bit trying to figure out what the input was. And other than that, that's it. So there's not like extra fun things. There's no poster to go with it. There's no extra interesting tidbits. If it maybe came with one of the books, I'd be more inclined, because that would be fun. But as it stands, I'm just going to rent it.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say that. I'd say stream it because it's free at that point.
Fair.
That's the thing is, like, it's cute, it's corny and cheesy, but I would only really put it back on to introduce our friends' kids to it. And even then, that's a maybe, just because, like you
need
said,
a vampire kid.
Yeah, and
and unfortunately we have a monster kid and a wholesome kid who's scared of things, so...
Yeah, they're not even 4 yet, so...
The monster kid, maybe, but he likes monsters, not vampires. We need a vampire kid to come into our lives, and this would be the movie for them.
We'll see.
One of our friends will have children who are, like, interested in vampires.
Yeah. But thankfully that is our last child-friendly portion of this season. We'll be back at it again next week with some spooky weeb shit from one of my favorite artists.
Hell yeah.
And y'all thought we left Japan behind last year with our Folktober. Guess again, bitches.
Of course.
Beware the ever-present Japanese flick review from the Good, the Bad, and the Weird podcast.
One of these days we'll find a different genre, I swear.
Different country.
Maybe. Probably. Yeah. We'll try.
But anywho, this is about the Good, the Bad, and the Weird MicroViews.
Thanks for listening.
Peace. Thank you for stopping by this here town of the Good, the Bad, and the Weird. We appreciate your listenership, and if you want more of our takes in your life, feel free to check us out on social media at The Good, the Bad, and the Weird Podcast, or TGTBTW for short. As well, if we missed a fact, your favorite part of a movie, or just have a suggestion and want to reach out and say howdy, feel free to email us at tgtbtwpodcast@gmail.com. And feel free to join our Discord at The Good, the Bad, and the Weird Podcast, where we talk about movies, just share random banter here and there. And always, check out our podcasters, streamers, or any other content creator we shout out in our episodes. We really appreciate it. And as always, thank you for listening. Peace.